In the sprawling tapestry of history, some threads shine brighter, woven with the gold of ambition and the crimson of conquest. One such thread belongs to a man whose name is echoed through millennia, Gaius Julius Caesar. This is not just a story of a Roman general. It is the saga of a man who bent the world to his will, a politician who redefined power, and a visionary whose legacy shaped the very foundations of Western civilization. Our story begins not on the battlefield, but in the bustling, treacherous heart of Rome. Born into an ancient patrician family called the Julii, Caesar's early life was a master class in survival. The Republic was a snake pit of shifting allegiances and brutal power struggles. Young Caesar learned quickly. He navigated these dangerous waters with a sharp intellect and a charm that could disarm his fiercest rivals. He possessed a rare combination: the mind of a scholar, the tongue of an orator, and the unyielding spirit of a warrior. His ambition was a fire that could not be contained. He climbed the cursus honorum, the ladder of Roman political offices, with calculated precision. Each step quaestor, aedile, praetor was a strategic move, building his influence, his reputation, and his network of allies. As an aedile, he staged lavish public games, winning the adoration of the common people, a power base that would prove more valuable than any legion. He understood that in Rome the love of the masses was a weapon more potent than any sword. But it was in the crucible of war that the legend of Caesar was truly forged. Sent to govern Gaul, a vast and wild territory, Caesar saw not a provincial post, but an opportunity for unparalleled glory and wealth. What followed was one of the most brilliant military campaigns in history. For nearly a decade, Caesar and his legions marched across what is now modern-day France, Belgium, and parts of Germany and Britain. His genius was not just in grand strategy, but in the details. He was an innovator, a master of siege warfare, building incredible feats of engineering like the double-walled fortifications at the Battle of Alesia. He was a psychologist, understanding the morale of his men and the fears of his enemies. He led from the front, sharing the hardships of his soldiers, eating the same rations, and sleeping on the hard ground. This forged a bond of loyalty so absolute that his men would follow him anywhere, even against Rome itself. His dispatches from the front, known as the Commentaries on the Gallic War, were not mere military reports. They were masterpieces of political propaganda, crafted to be read aloud in the Roman Forum. In clear, powerful prose, he painted a picture of himself as the heroic defender of Rome, subduing barbarian hordes and expanding the Republic's borders. He was writing his own myth, and Rome was captivated. While Caesar's star ascended in Gaul, his enemies in the Senate watched with growing fear. Men like Cato the Younger and Pompey the Great, once his allies, saw his ambition for what it was, a threat to the Republic's very existence. They saw a king in the making, and in Rome the word king was a curse. They issued an ultimatum: disband your army and return to Rome as a private citizen to face prosecution. This was the moment of truth. Caesar stood with his beloved 13th Legion on the banks of a small river, the Rubicon, which marked the legal boundary of Italy. To cross it with an army was an act of treason, an open declaration of civil war. The choice was simple: submit to his enemies and face ruin, or risk everything for ultimate power. As the cold January air bit at his face, Caesar is said to have uttered the fateful words, "Ea lea iacta est," meaning the die is cast. He led his legion across the river. The crossing of the Rubicon was more than a military maneuver. It was a point of no return. The Republic would be torn asunder, and from its ashes an empire would rise. What followed was a swift and brutal civil war. Pompey and the senatorial faction, despite their numerical superiority, were outmaneuvered and outthought at every turn by Caesar's lightning-fast campaign. From Spain to Greece and finally to Egypt, Caesar hunted his rivals with relentless efficiency. In Egypt, he famously intervened in a dynastic struggle, siding with the young Queen Cleopatra. Their alliance was both political and personal, a union of two of the most charismatic figures of the ancient world. After a series of stunning victories culminating in the Battle of Munda, Caesar returned to Rome not as a general, but as its undisputed master. He was declared dictator for life. He initiated sweeping reforms, reorganizing the calendar, granting citizenship to provincials, and launching massive public works projects. He was a whirlwind of activity, a man seemingly intent on rebuilding the world in his own image. His authority was absolute, his power unmatched. But the specter of tyranny still haunted the halls of the Senate. A conspiracy began to form, led by men Caesar considered friends, like Marcus Junius Brutus. They called themselves the Liberators, believing they were acting to save the Republic from a despot. They saw his purple toga, his statues, his month named in his honor, which is the month of July, and they saw not a leader, but a king. On the Ides of March, the 15th of March, 44 B.C., Julius Caesar walked into the theater of Pompey for a Senate meeting. He was surrounded by the conspirators. They drew their hidden daggers and fell upon him. According to legend, as he saw Brutus among his attackers, he uttered his final heartbreaking words, "Et tu, Brute?" meaning, "You too, Brutus?" He fell at the foot of the statue of his rival, Pompey, his lifeblood staining the marble, bringing a dramatic and violent end to one of history's most extraordinary lives. The conspirators believed they had saved the Republic. They were wrong. Caesar's death did not restore the old order. It plunged Rome into another round of bloody civil wars. From this chaos, one man would emerge victorious, Caesar's adopted son and heir, Octavian. He would finish what Caesar started, destroying the Republic for good and becoming the first Roman emperor, Augustus. So was Caesar a hero or a villain? A savior or a destroyer? The truth is, he was all of these things and more. He was a brilliant military commander, a shrewd politician, a gifted writer, and a man of boundless ambition. His actions brought an end to the Roman Republic, but they also paved the way for the Pax Romana, a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity that lasted for 2 centuries. The story of Julius Caesar is a timeless lesson in power, ambition, and the fragile nature of political systems. He stands as a colossus of history, a man who dared to cast the die and, in doing so, changed the course of the world forever. His name became a title for emperors, and his legacy is embedded in our languages, our laws, and our collective memory. He was Caesar, and his story will be told as long as empires rise and fall. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of a true giant of history. If you found this story as captivating as we do, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next epic tale. Until next time.